It's about the I got to say, it's the stupidest thing in sports.
Gets the ball, gets back, pulls up for the win. Got it! Detroit basketball. Oh, Holloman looks the clock. Half court for the win. Oh! The Lions go for it. The Vikings bring it. The pass is a touchdown to give. Javi Baez, homered earlier. First one in the air, deep left field again. Yes, Tigers win! Javi is unstoppable!
This is BS Sports.
And away we go. You know, I do always get a little sad when I get to watch that Javi clip. Not because Javi's like falling off or anything. No, he's been just fine. I get a little sad sometimes because this is one of those nights. Tigers game got postponed. So I just have a black screen on my television. I don't know that there's anything on. I mean, it's just baseball, but I don't think there's any baseball games on in my area. I guess I could put golf on or whatever else. Tennis. Maybe the WNBA's on. I'm pretty sure the WNBA is probably on. I'd rather have nothing on my television than that. That's if that tells you what I believe in the quality of the product of the WNBA, that. Like that I would rather have nothing than that on my TV. It's basically the same thing. All right, welcome in. We got a decent episode. I'm going to say it's going to be a good episode. They're always good episodes. We got a decent episode as far as news. The only reason I say decent is because we're still sort of, I mean, it's like you put a lot of the front load news stuff, right? So you got a lot of the immediate moves, quick signings, all that fun stuff. But it's not really until I'd say the first couple, like maybe after the first week, maybe week and a half, where you're like, okay, I get a pretty good idea of where teams are heading. But we also got some Tigers talk. And we're going to do another deep dive. I haven't done a deep dive on any Tiger player in a while. And I feel like this guy deserves it. So we'll get to it. But I want to talk about the Pistons. That's the headliner. So the Pistons offseason, in my mind, is kind of having a little bit of a concerning start. So, as far as players you're losing, and we'll get to one of these guys at the end. You lose out on Dennis Schroeder. He goes to Sacramento. You lose out on Tim Hardaway Jr. I believe he ends up in Denver. I believe he ends up in Denver. Let me actually double check. So I'm pretty sure I still have that notification here. Yep, he ends up with Denver. And you bring back Paul Reed on a 2-year, $11 million deal. I like Paul Reed. I thought he played pretty well in the playoffs, all things considered, but he really didn't play a whole lot for you. And Isaiah Stewart is just him, but better. So I was a little shocked that we ended up bringing him back, but I guess, they like his fit. They like his grittiness. So, okay, fine. Pistons also signed Karis LeVert to a 2-year, $29 million deal. Karis LeVert, who has one skill, and that is shoot the three ball, albeit not as well as a guy that we will talk about in just a little bit. I'm not going to say his name just yet. We'll get to it. But Karis LeVert comes in. He's going to be one of your three-point specialists. And then literally like maybe an hour or so ago, Duncan Robinson on a sign and trade. He gets signed and dealt to Detroit for Simone Fontecchio. I think it's a massive upgrade from Fontecchio's standpoint because Simone Fontecchio was absolutely terrible. So definitely like the improvement on that end. And that move definitely, since I made the stream and then he gets Duncan Robinson gets sent to the Pistons. So I was like, okay, actually that does make things a little bit better so far for the offseason. However, there is a name that I have yet to name here, who is on the thumbnail of this video, of the show, and that is Malik Beasley. Malik Beasley had, I believe it was a 3-year, $40 million deal, whatever the money was. He had a 3-year deal coming his way after a spectacular season. Helped us get to the playoffs, helped us win playoff games. Was on the team. Although his last move in that series was dropping a pass that could have been a 3-point shot for a tie game, but that's fine. That's fine. The thing that gets me is Malik Beasley is now under investigation by the federal government, so you're never a good sign, for gambling. Now, usually, players are, I believe, allowed to gamble outside of, I actually don't know what the rules are in the NBA, but in the NFL, I remember this, you can't gamble within team facilities. But it should go without saying that when we're talking about players in a particular league, you are not allowed to gamble in said league because, and it might come as a shock to some people, you have knowledge that is not necessarily public. So let's say Malik Beasley, he's best friends with Tyrese Halliburton. I don't know who he is, but he has access to other stars in the league. I'm sure he could DM them and they would respond to him and give him information. And he knows agents and stuff like that. He can learn about, this guy's actually playing hurt. Bet the under on his over-under. The Vegas is hoping people see that and they're like, please, that's an easy over. This guy's a 20 points a game player, and they're putting the over-under at 9.5. Give me the over. You get that advantage. Furthermore, you obviously cannot bet on games in which you are involved in because whether you know it or not, even if you want to say, he might be betting on himself to score more points. Even if you're betting on yourself, it changes the game. This is a very good point that I believe it was, and that's baseball. The YouTuber made this point about Pete Rose. Whether you're betting for or against yourself, you're going to change the game even in a non-conscious level. For example, let's say Malik Beasley says, okay, my over-under for tonight's game is 13.5. Well, I'm obviously going to get more than that. I'm going to bet on myself. I'm going to do better than 13.5. I'm going to get 14 points. Well, now, because he knows he wants to win that bet, he might take some shots that he otherwise wouldn't have taken. He might drive to the basket and try to draw a foul that he might otherwise not have done. And that could result in an injury to the player delivering the foul. It could end up in an injury to him. Or it could just end up in a game not going the way it's supposed to go because Malik Beasley is too focused on hitting his over instead of actually making the competent and the well-reasoned and the right play in the moment, which might be, okay, I have an open look, but let me lob it up to Jalen Duren, or let me pass the ball over to Schroeder and let him take the open look. Whatever the case might be. The point is, you can't gamble in games in the NBA if you're in the NBA. And you certainly can't gamble in games that you're doing. And this should be a very easy to understand thing. However, time after time after time, athletes seem to fall into this. I mean, last year was it Jonte Porter, the guy on Toronto? He was a nobody, and now he's banned from the league. Never going to play in the NBA ever again. And people could say, Malik Beasley, he almost won Sixth Man of the Year. He's a beloved figure. He's not going to get made. Really? You think if he was betting on games where he was involved, like if he was betting on over-unders or point spreads or whatever the case might be, you think the NBA cares that he almost won Sixth Man of the Year? He's not LeBron James. He's not Steph Curry. He's not Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's not one of these guys that are real money makers for the league. Fine player, but he's not even been an all-star. like he is a nobody in the eye of the NBA. And very well, it is possible that he gets banned. Now, I want to just make a rant here a little bit because a lot of people will say, oh my gosh, how could you be so stupid gambling? Oh my gosh, it sucks. It's so annoying. These players can't follow the rules. You might have just screwed us. And obviously, as a Pistons fan, this very well sets a lot of our offseason into turmoil, where now it's like, okay, we're not only replacing, Dennis Schroeder or Tim Hardaway Jr., now we got to replace our best three-point shooter. One of the veteran leaders on the team. What are we going to do? Is that changing our offseason strategy? I don't know. We're not making a big-time move. I mean, Karis LeVert and Duncan Robinson, fine players. Not moving the needle anywhere from where you were, especially given the loss of Malik Beasley. You would have had those guys with Malik Beasley. Maybe you say it's an improvement. But to get back to what I was originally trying to say, We really just need to go back to gambling being illegal. This is not a political show. Okay. This is not me, pontificating about my own particular views of government, my own views of society and what it should look like. All that that's not what the show is for. But gambling has gotten out of hand. Like, we are clearly not a responsible enough society that we can't handle it. Players know for a fact this is against the rule. This is the golden rule of sports. You cannot gamble on your own league. Period. End of story. You can't do it. And they can't resist. It's like, to make a potentially a different example, it's like fraternizing with let's say the ladies of the company, right? It's usually frowned upon to, ask people out in the workplace. But people do it and they get in trouble, and sometimes there's harassment and sometimes people get uncomfortable, but people do it. Why? I don't know. It's like our brains shut off when we see flashy lights and money rewards. That's what happens. And the same is true, or that is primarily what's happening with these gambling. Like, it would be one thing if you want to say, okay, maybe we don't make it illegal. Okay. Can we at least eliminate all of the sports gambling apps? I mean, guys, it's ridiculous. Let me just see how many I can name off the top of my head that I wouldn't have known about 5-6 years ago. DraftKings, Fanatics, FanDuel, ESPN Bet, BetMGM, BetRivers. Oh my gosh, there's another one. I can't think of. There's hundreds of these. There's a bazillion of these. Bet Online, I think, is another one. Like, there's hundreds upon hundreds of these things. You think that's not going to fuel a bad action? Like, all you're doing in every single game, look, the Pistons play on a network that is owned by FanDuel Sports. Like, the Pistons play on FanDuel Sports Detroit. Every Pistons game has a same game parlay before the game that is announced and that is talked about during the game. And you will see odds in the FanDuel bar at the bottom of the screen where the scoreboard is. You will see, betting odds for such and such award or for such and such team to win the Super Bowl or whatever. It is a never-ending just supply of betting stuff and gambling apps. And that's not to mention, if you go on any sports YouTube show or listen to any sports talk radio, you are going to get inundated with sports gambling ads or just articles upon articles filled with with all these gambling stats. I bet you there's probably going to be an article in the next few days. Here are the latest odds from Vegas on the NBA Finals teams based on the first few days of the offseason. Who cares? I mean, did people need this 20, 30 years ago to enjoy sports? No. Has the game gotten so stale to people? Has the game itself lost all interest that the only way for people to enjoy it is to put money on it? And people aren't betting small amounts of money. I mean, like, they put the gambling problem hotline at the end of all these commercials. They do that for liability reasons. And frankly, they're doing it because they know that people are getting addicted and people are burning money that they really should not have any business spending on anything, let alone on gambling. So, yeah, the Malik Beasley thing and the Pistons offseason, look, that's its own thing. But this gambling stuff has really just got to stop. Like, I'm just tired of it. I think, frankly, it's a bad idea. I wouldn't advise people to get into it. And I'm going to go on the record here, and you can hold this up if I ever become a hypocrite. If I ever get big enough to where there are sponsors, I am not taking any sponsors that are gambling companies. I'm not going to do it. I don't care about Underdog Fantasy or Underdog, any of that. I don't care about BetMGM or FanDuel or DraftKings. Any of y'all who are listening, do not send me an email asking me to advertise for you. I'm not going to do it. You already spend all that money advertising on my television set. I don't need you in my own content. Gotcha? All right. So Pistons offseason, as I finish my rant on gambling, Pistons offseason is what it is. I'll say this. I'm a little nervous, but I'm not freaking out. The rest of the East is getting a little spooky, all things considered. But last offseason, it was kind of the sneaky moves. It was the quieter moves. It was, bringing, I mentioned him, Malik Beasley. It was bringing in Malik Beasley or Tim Hardaway Jr. And maybe that is, maybe it's addition by subtraction. Maybe you get better because you lose Simone Fontecchio and you bring in Duncan Robinson. Maybe you get better because you get to play Jaden Ivey instead of Tim Hardaway Jr. in the starting five role. I don't know. And maybe you see development from Duren or Asar or Holland, whatever the case might be. Either way, it is a little bit of a concern. I'm a little antsy, all right? I'm not freaking out. I'm not saying the offseason is going terribly because I just think that's flatly wrong. But I'd like to see a little bit more. I'd like to see maybe 2 or 3 more moves, 2 or 3 more guys, or a big name like a Devin Booker. That would be as far as I'm willing to go. Oh, man. Oh, I gotta tell you, I am very tired. I've had a long day. I've been up for a while. I did not sleep very well last night. But we're doing the show anyway because I'm a hero. To quote the YouTuber, I'm not even going to say his name because his name is quote Barry. I won't say his full name. You know what I'm talking about. I'm a hero. So a couple other moves in the offseason I want to talk about here. And some of these moves are like, moves that maybe, not moves that I would have necessarily been interested in the Pistons making. A few of them, I'm like, oh man, I wish I actually wouldn't have minded the Pistons making that move. First one, Michael Porter Jr. traded to the Nets for Cam Johnson. And the Nets also get a 2032 first round pick. Forget the players, like the actual active players involved. How is that allowed? How can you trade a 2032 first round pick? 2032? Are you kidding me? Like, hold on. Let me do the math here. Because you're going to be 18 when you get drafted, roughly. So 2032, let's see, minus 10, 22, 2014, which means that first round pick is currently 11 years old. And yet teams will trade for these picks. I do not understand that. That doesn't, what is that? 11 years old. What is that? 4th grade? 5th grade? I think 5th grade. Yeah, 5th grade. Maybe 4th. I don't know. Either way, 11 years old. You traded for an 11-year-old, basically. Anyway, Cam Johnson to Denver. Cam Johnson was a guy, I feel like every offseason, the past 2 offseasons, I was like, please, Detroit, go get Cam Johnson. Please, I'm begging you. I love Cam Johnson when he was with Phoenix. And I thought maybe we would have made a move for him at the deadline even, but he didn't go anywhere. And it said it's something of a swap there for the Nets. I kind of feel bad for poor Michael Porter Jr. because I think he's a really fine player. Obviously, not a superstar by any stretch of the imagination. Neither is Cam Johnson. But I don't know that either team really gets massively better because of this move. Now, Denver's been making some other moves that I think makes them a lot better. But this move in and of itself feels a little bit like a kind of a weird, just like, okay, yeah, Cam Johnson, Michael Porter Jr., similar not similar archetype of player. Physically, they're very different, but similar in terms of their production. Both are about 18 points a game player, I think, something like that. Both shoot from around the same percentage from 3. I mean, I guess they didn't. Michael Porter Jr. doesn't stay healthy very often, is my understanding and my outside of the team observation. But Cam Johnson, I think he's a really good player. I could go on and on talking about Cam Johnson. The other move that I thought was noteworthy, albeit kind of just whatever. D'Angelo Russell signs with the Mavs on a 2-year deal, $13 million. The only thing I really know about this guy is that LeBron James apparently hates him. That's like the only thing that this guy really is known for, is that he is hated by LeBron James. And now he's going to an organization that is hated by everybody. So I think it kind of works out to where LeBron can still hate D'Angelo Russell, but not feel like he's really singling him out, because like, he's playing for the Mavs. Everybody hates the Mavs now. I don't know. He's a decent player. He's not amazing. This free agency class kind of blows, so there's not really a whole lot of options in free agency. The biggest moves you're going to see made as far as big name players is going to be in the trades, which is why that Cam Johnson Michael Porter trade is somewhat noteworthy. The other big move in terms of a big name, a guy that I definitely wanted the Pistons to try to get, but obviously he was not really available. Jaren Jackson Jr. re-signs on I believe it was a 5-year deal. So the Grizzlies definitely not interested in moving him, not anytime soon at least. And it seems they are being true to their word and trying to build a team around John Morant and Jaren Jackson. If only they had those guys before, then they could. It's like, well, you already tried this, and obviously you failed. But they're probably in their mind, all right, it's just whatever we did before, it wasn't good. We're gonna just start over, but we're gonna keep these two pieces and see what happens. Problem is, I believe they're gonna have a new coach at this point. I think they had an interim coach because they fired their coach in the final 10 games right before the playoffs. By the way, you don't have a job. Really weird, but a good move for them. They obviously should keep him. He's a very good player, probably the best defensive player in the league right now. So yeah, nice stuff. And speaking of controversial / I think sense-making moves, the Bucks signed Miles Turner to a big deal, 4 years, $109 million, which seems like a lot. However, they waived Dame, and that is a little shocking. However, let me offer you this: addition by subtraction. Damian Lillard had struggled to stay healthy the last couple of seasons. Now, he's going to be out all next year anyway. He's probably not going to get picked up this offseason. If he is going to get picked up, it's going to be next offseason once he's actually healthy, unless he just has some miracle surgery that makes his Achilles somehow work better than it did before. Like he gets one of them robot legs from Star Wars or something. But Miles Turner, he kind of struggled in the playoffs, no doubt about it. So that doesn't bode well for a Doc Rivers coach team to get a player who struggles in the playoffs. But Miles Turner, I think, is a really good player. He was a guy that I wouldn't have been mad if the Pistons went out and signed. He could shoot from threes, which is a quality that you could use in a big man. The Pacers continue to kind of just get worse. Obviously, Tyrese is going to be hurt all of next year, so definitely feels like a step back year next year for Indiana, which maybe you could say the Pistons could fill that void, especially as the Pacers get hurt / move on from guys. The Pistons add on and get healthy, so you might have something going there. But the Bucks are not saying, they're not giving in, despite Giannis not being happy about the fact that they waived Damian Lillard, even though it's like, dude, he was not playing next year. And he's only going to get older and less healthy and reliable. You might as well, obviously Miles Turner is not Damian Lillard by position nor by ability. But you might as well move on from the guy and open up some space to be able to make more signings and potentially make another trade. We'll see what ends up happening with the Bucks, but they obviously need a change of that roster because, man, that championship team that won a couple of years back, it's funny. Giannis is pretty much the only guy left. It's like PJ Tucker's gone, Chris Middleton's gone, Drew Holiday's gone. Like that's the whole championship team, and Giannis is still there. They got rid of basically everybody over the past 3-4 years. They thought they could just patch it up with Damian Lillard and a new coach. It's been a bit of a disaster for the Milwaukee Bucks since winning that championship. So you hate to see it for our friend Seth, who still working today. It's He's been stuck in Home Depot for like 2 years at this point. It's quite sad. It's very sad. But a bit of a quiet start for the NBA offseason, if you ask me. A bit of a quiet start. Okay. Okay. See, so I'm so used to there being a Tiger game right now. I'm just looking at my TV and there's nothing. Actually, I want to check. Is there a WNBA game? Because now I'm just curious. Now I'm just curious. Are there any live sports that I can comment on in between segments? There's got to be something, right? There's got to be something. Let's see. As soon as my television loads. What in the heck is Masha the Bear? And I don't want to know that. You know what? I'm just going to pretend I did not see that. I'm just going to pretend I did not see that. That's what we're going to do. Let's see. What live events do we have? Okay, we got baseball. Okay. And we got free agent tracker, I guess. Okay. I guess I could keep this on. It's an advertisement, but whatever. Free agent tracker. That's fine. That's fine. I haven't seen anything. Nothing. And my cellular telephone is not giving me any news alerts. So, all right. Well, the free agency thingamabob is going. We're going to move along to a different league, the National Hockey League. The offseason has begun as of today, at least like officially. Free agency opens, all the crazy stuff. I'm not going to break down every single free agent because, to be honest with you guys, I just don't know a lot of these free agents. And you can blame the NHL and you can also blame me for not knowing all these people. But the NHL is just one of those leagues that I love watching, but is impossible to really follow without being basically inundated with hockey content all the time, everywhere, at all places. I can't do it. Can't do it. I want to focus on the Red Wings right now because, well, let's just get into it. So, just before the draft, I believe it was just before the draft, the Red Wings trade for John Gibson, a goaltender out of the Anaheim Ducks. They trade Peter Mrazek, who they traded for at the trade deadline, and a couple of draft picks to get John Gibson. And all things considered, John Gibson is probably the best goaltender as far as resume goes since, like, I don't know, like, probably certainly for a very long time. John Gibson's a solid goaltender. He didn't play a whole lot last year. He was dealing with injuries, but he's only a couple of years removed from having a really, really solid year, like an all-star caliber year. John Gibson is a fine goalie, but John Gibson is not Patrick Waugh. You know, John Gibson is not suddenly vaulting you into the playoffs. And to make things even weirder, I just have to ask, what is wrong with Sebastian Cossa? Like, did this guy run over Steve Yzerman's cat? Or did he say something that made everybody in the room uncomfortable? Like, did he mention, like, he was just busy, you know, reading up on astronomy books and how totally made up they are and that the moon is actually fake. Like, what did this kid do? Like, you go and you look at his stats in the AHL, you're like, okay, yeah, he seems to be kind of tearing it up. All right, let's bring this guy to the NHL. Let's bring him in. And no, like Steve Yzerman would have rather had Peter Mrazek last year playing in net than Sebastian Cossa. And then now, okay, you're going to have John Gibson and what's his name? Oh my gosh, the other guy. Oh my gosh, what is the name of their other goalie? Cam Talbot. Thank you, brain, for remembering that. So you're going to have Gibson and Talbot, I guess? Or, like, you're going to have a three-headed goaltending line? Like, is Cossa going to come up in the inevitability when John Gibson gets injured? Or when Cam Talbot goes down? Like, I don't know what the thought is, but it seems to me that you're sticking Sebastian Cosa in the AHL for yet another season for him to just further develop. I like, how long is it going to take? And that leads into some of these other things. Patrick Kane signs a 1-year deal, so he's coming back. Jonathan Berggren signs a 1-year deal. And Albert Johansson, I believe, signs a 2-year deal. I'm not sure on the term either with Berggren, just to be certain as well. That could be a 2-year deal. All right. Let me just make a point here. Jonathan Berggren stinks. Okay, I don't want to hear about, well, give him another year. Jonathan Berggren is awful. He is my bugaboo. Like, the more I have to see of Jonathan Berggren on this team, the less confident I am in this team's ability to make the next jump. If he is a part of this team, you're just not as good as you could be. And okay, fine. You want to bring back some of your own guys. You like the fits. They know the system. Okay, fine. Whatever. Let's see who you can go and get. Well, you can't get Noah Dobson because he got traded to the Canadiens and he gets his contract extension. Okay, maybe you want to go get Aaron Ekblad. Can't get Ekblad. He's staying with the Panthers. Sam Bennett, Marchand, same deal. What about Mitch Marner? You want to think big? Mitch Marner. He's going to the Golden Knights. And throughout this entire day, I'm just waiting. Okay, what are we going to do? We sell off Vladimir Tarasenko for future considerations to the Minnesota Wild. What are we waiting for? What are we going to do? And just crickets. Just complete and utter nothingness. Not a trade, not a massive free agent. Like, we essentially spent the entire first day of free agency signing for the Grand Rapids Griffins. I saw a comment in the Reddit, the Red Wings Reddit that I thought was quite poignant, which is somebody needs to remind Steve Yzerman that he is also roster building for the NHL team and not just the AHL team. Because I got to tell you, there was a lot of people in some of those comments that were like, oh, wow, what a great depth piece. The Griffins are going to be great. Let's go, Griffins. Maybe I'm the weird one. I'm beginning to hate the Griffins. Like the more that the Griffins seem to get the players that I'm actually interested in for this team, whether it's Sebastian Cosa or Danielson or whomever or Sandy Pellica, the more that they get them, the more I'm like, is he the GM of the Grand Rapids Griffins or the GM of the Detroit Red Wings? And if these guys aren't good enough to play for the Detroit Red Wings, what do I care if they're good enough to play for the Grand Rapids Griffins? Is this a shock to people? Like, what is the point of signing these players? I don't understand. If the idea is, okay, we're signing these guys because they're going to be in the AHL, because we're going to bring up all the kids. Okay, well, if that's the case, you're going to have a team of nothing but your prospects, okay? So you're going to have a team of, young players who may or may not be good just being thrown into the fire. When what you could do is you could sell off some of the dead bodies, otherwise known as the fourth line of this hockey team, and let the young players play in the smaller, less, pressure-ridden minutes, right? And let them develop slowly and work their way up, and then bring in these established stud/superstar/ above average players, as opposed to this, like, just seeming immunity, this allergy to any move that would expedite the process or that might cost you something you like. Like, okay, could Nate Danielson be a very good player? Maybe. All right. He's not right now. Okay. Like, when you go up and down this Red Wings roster, outside of Lucas Raymond, outside of Dylan Larkin, maybe Alex DeBrincat, and then on the defensive side, Mo Sider, are any of these guys on a first-line team that's in the Cup? I mean, like, let me put it this way. Would any of those guys that I just named be able to replace any of the guys in the first line of the Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers of this past year's Cup? No. The answer is absolutely, positively no. And you want to know how I know that answer is absolutely, positively no? Is because Lucas Raymond, Dylan Larkin, both of those guys played in the Four Nations Cup, and they were not on the first line. So that is just of guys from their country. Okay, like Dylan Larkin is not even a first liner among players in the United States of America. So why would it be the first line of a team that's going to the Stanley Cup? Like, when you put all of the best players from one country onto a team, he is not a first liner. So I just, it just feels like, deja vu all over again with this Red Wings offseason. Last year, this exact sort of thing happened. You get rid of Jake Wallman, and you're just sort of like, okay, well, anything gonna happen? You gonna sign a big free agent? You gonna make a trade, Steve? And it's just a whole lot of nothing. And at this point, I've gotten used to it. And I've made my thoughts known. I think Steve Yzerman should be fired. And I'm not holding back on that. If this really is the offseason, which obviously you're going to see some guys come in, perhaps. Like, the more time goes by, the less likely that is to be. You're going to see maybe a name or two sign, or maybe a smaller trade. But if your roster basically looks exactly the same as last year, like if your best players going into this year are the same as your best players going into last year, you're not going to make you're definitely not going to make the Stanley Cup. You're probably not going to make the playoffs. And newsflash, Steve Yzerman probably isn't going to make it until next offseason. And look, that is all without talking about the actual draft, in which Steve Yzerman once again decides to use the 13, or I guess wasn't necessarily always picking 13, decides to use the pick to take some guy named Carter Bear, whatever the heck his name is. I got to tell you, I saw more people excited about this guy because he was an indigenous person playing for the Red Wings than that he actually could play hockey. He could be from planet Mars. I don't care. Steve Yzerman's not going to be here by the time he plays if things keep going the way they're going. So I don't care. I don't care if he comes from the Chesapeake Bay or from, Mount Olympus. It makes zero difference to me. So if all you're hanging your hat on is, oh, well, I'm so glad to see an indigenous person on the Red Wings, then you're just not serious. And you just treat the Red Wings, you treat hockey in Detroit like it's a little plaything where you can just imagine what the team is going to be like in 10 years instead of actually realizing the team you have right now sucks and will continue to suck until something happens, until you do something drastic. I don't usually call for drastic changes for the other teams in the city, given the fact that they are actually good, given the fact that all of them have made playoffs or will make the playoffs again. I don't think drastic changes are needed to improve that. But with the Red Wings, that is not the case. You do need to make drastic changes. You're entering into year 7 of a rebuild that has no end in sight. Let's say you do make the playoffs. What then? If you're just able to creep into the playoffs, if you're last year's New Jersey Devils and you just get pounded, what was the point? Why didn't you go a little harder? Why didn't you pursue some of these big names? Why didn't you fire the coach you hired way earlier when it was clear he was in over his head? Why didn't you fire the coach you inherited when you knew that he was a dead man walking? Why'd you maintain a player like Dylan Larkin when it's clear that he is not a first-line center and you could have sold him while the value was high when you first got here and really, went all in, but instead You had to hold on to him, and now you're stuck with him. So the Red Wings continue to kind of cycle. I don't anticipate that Steve Yzerman is going to make another move or a major move because it's just not in his DNA. I don't think he is capable of making those moves. I don't think he wants to make those moves. I think he wants to sit back and let his draft picks develop, slowly but surely bring them up through the systems, never trade them for anything that is currently available. And, maybe in 2030, when the team is ready to go, based entirely on all of his draft picks working out, which never happens, then maybe people will understand. Like, just one more thing to end this segment. To anybody who is still a believer in Yzerman, I need to know what's your deadline. What is your expiration date? Because my expiration date was this past trade deadline. That was my expiration date. And frankly, my expiration date might have started at the beginning of last season. But what is it? Is it 2027? Is it the end of this? If they don't make the playoffs, are you done? Or is it next year? Or is it 3 years from now? Or is it in 2030? Or do you never want to give up on Steve Yzerman? If you are in the never category, you can kindly leave because I don't respect you as an intellectual or as a person who wants to dialogue about sports, because clearly you're actually not that interested in any sort of reality. You're just interested in, I don't know, rooting for your favorite hockey player in the whole wide world who's not even playing hockey anymore. He's sitting in a press box most of the time. So sad stuff for the Red Wings overall. Happy 100-year anniversary. Oh, by the way, Alex Delvecchio's dead. Happy 100 years. Happy centennial. Keandre Miller traded to the Hurricanes. I already saw that, but whoa, wait, what is this? Diamondbacks banned fan for 2025. Fan who has interfered on multiple plays over the past years can't return to Chase Field for the rest of the season. That's interesting. There was this. It was kind of crazy because there was this fan that they were talking that I was reading about. Apparently, like for the past 4 years, the ball has just found this guy and he's interfered on all these occasions. I don't know how that could even happen. Like, okay, you get fan interference one time. Okay, I get it. Whoops, my bad. I'm sorry. I didn't, I wasn't thinking. Ball was coming at me. I didn't know how far it was gonna go. Blah 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 blah. Okay, fine. I have a reasonable amount of grace with this sort of thing. I think most people do. The second time, you're like, oh, okay, this is kind of weird, but it could happen. Two times, you make the same mistake. That's fine. By time number 3, I'm thinking, okay, maybe you're just not hearing me. Maybe it's just like not getting through. Time number 4, yeah, you gotta go. Like it's okay. I don't have time to continue wasting on you. So yeah, that's it's interesting. I don't know. Like, this is why I could never, like, if I'm going to a baseball game, I'm not going right on the edge. No. Put me in a place where I can view the whole field, or view most of the field. I'm not going anywhere where I can reach my hands over. I'm not becoming, Steve Bartman. Not happening. Don't want it to happen. Not going to do it. All right. So, speaking of baseball, my beloved Detroit Tigers remain the top team in the American League. And I got to tell you, the Tigers really do have something going with Tarik Skubal. Like, it is unbelievable how good Tarik Skubal has been. Like, I could go on and on about Tarek Skubal. I've already done video upon video on Tarek Skubal. He's the best pitcher in the world, and it's not even that close. You can go on his Baseball Savant page. You can go on his Baseball Reference page. You can go on any page where his stats are being broadcasted. You will come away and be like, okay, yeah, this guy's the best pitcher in baseball. And I feel like I'm a little bit alone here. People are pretty much content with saying, yep, we're going to have him for this year and next year, but we're not going to pay him. And this is fans of the team. This isn't just like, people, hot take people. These are like regular people saying, look, if Tarek Skubal, if he reaches free agency, I don't know why my camera's not focused. There we go. Now it's focused. If Tarek Skubal, wants out, if he wants however much, we're just going to let him go. And look, okay. Ordinarily, I understand the logic of people saying this, pitchers play once every 5 games. You don't win with starting pitching in this league anymore. You win with hitting. You could spend some of that money that you would spend on him, a guy who plays a fifth of the games, on a bunch of bats. I understand. However, what we're witnessing right now is Randy Johnson levels of dominance. Okay, like if you get back-to-back Cy Youngs, which everything is indicating that he will, and he's probably going to start the All-Star game if that's worth anything for you. He should have started last year's All-Star game, but, whatever. We're talking about a level of play that is comparable to Randy Johnson, that is comparable to the Max Scherzers and the Justin Verlanders of the world. The Tigers have had a lot of really good starting pitchers, a lot of Hall of Fame starting pitchers. Jack Morris, Verlander, Scherzer, Rick Porcello. The list goes on and on. None of them are like Tarek Skubal right now. In one case, it's because he's a lefty. Like the Tigers have really never had an elite, stud, unhittable lefty like Tarek Skubal. And that's why that's why I'm like, come on, let's bring this guy back. Now, look, if he says, I want 10 years, $600 million, okay, well, that's going to be a little tough to come by. But we should be doing everything in our power. Once he gets to free agency, obviously there's no rush right now. You might as well just, play it out this year, play it out next year. But you have to do everything in your power to bring this guy back. And I don't want to hear about, well, he's got an injury history. Dude, everybody's got an injury history. You can't say, well, he's got an injury history, and also he plays a fifth of the games. Like, if he plays a fifth of the games, he's less likely to get hurt than a guy who plays 162 games. That's just a fact, right? He's already dealt with the main pitching injuries before. He's already got Tommy John surgery, so he's less susceptible to that. Obviously, it's not impossible that he gets it again. It's not out of the realm of possibility. But he's just too good, and I feel like I'm going crazy saying we got to sign this guy. But anyway, that's not who we want. That's not who I wanted to talk about primarily today. Primarily, the guy I wanted to talk about was Riley Green and why he is the quietest, probably the most underrated superstar in the league right now. So let me just break down some of these numbers for you. Here are just his bare numbers from Baseball Reference and Fangraphs, my 2 favorite websites outside of Baseball Savant. So on the year, Riley Green is a 2.7 WAR, almost a 300 batting average, batting 296, 19 home runs. He's already almost got 100 hits, 95 hits, a 148 OPS plus, which gives you an 887 OPS. He's got a stolen base. He's got 63 RBIs, 47 runs scored, and he does lead the league in strikeouts. But he's still got an almost 900 OPS, and he will be an All-Star this year again, his second All-Star in a row. On top of that, oh, what the heck? There we go. My Fangraphs like glitched out. Wait, what? What's going on? It's like glitching out. Hold on. What is going on with Fangraphs? Fangraphs dead. I have no idea what's going on. Hold on. Let's try searching it. Riley Green Fangraphs. Let's just see what happens there. I do this. No? Okay, Fangraphs is down. All right, we won't look at Fangraphs then. Anyway, let's just pivot over to ESPN then, because I want to take a look at where he ranks in some of these stats. Among outfielders in baseball, that is all leagues. That's National League and American League. Riley Green is top 5 in average. He's top 10 in home runs. He's top 5 in RBIs, and he's top 10 in OPS. So he's at least top 10 outfielder in the league. And then you want to look at his baseball savant numbers. There we go. It's like, where is the little click link? There we go. Looking at his baseball savant numbers, it's a lot of red. He's in the 97th percentile in barrel rate. He's in the 93rd percentile in expected slugging percentage. He's in the 90th percentile in bat speed and 71st percentile in hard hit rate. A lot of red. However, let's be fair, he's also got a lot of blue. He's in the 27th percentile in chase rate. He's in the 6th percentile in K rate and the 10th percentile in whiff rate. In other words, Riley Green strikes out a lot, and that's why he leads the league in strikeouts. But all of that being said, even with those, deficiencies, he's also not particularly fast. He's in the 34th percentile in sprint speed, but he's a decent outfielder. He's 72nd percentile in outs against average, or outs above average, excuse me. I got goaltending in the mind. He's having an outstanding season. All right. He is absolutely tearing it up right now. Despite the high K rate, despite the whiff rate, he's still putting up these crazy numbers. And on Sunday Night Baseball, I will give ESPN the credit. They did kind of point him out as the leader of the offense. But then I was like, the offense, how good has he been? I know he's been really good, but then I went and looked at the numbers. I'm like, why is he not considered much more of a superstar, a big name in the league? Like, let me just pull up. Hold on. Let me just pull up. What's his name? Julio Rodriguez. Let me see. Can I get this guy's number? So, if you were to ask, who is the bigger name? Who's the bigger superstar? Julio or Riley Green? I think most people are going to say Julio. Now, to be fair, Julio's got a larger WAR, 3.7 WAR, but a 110 OPS plus, 11 home runs. That's, I think, 8 less, 258 average, 721 OPS. Not having an amazing year. And this is coming off of, back-to-back years where, he's been good, but the numbers have declined since especially that rookie year and then that following 2023 season where he won his back-to-back Silver Slugger. I don't know why. Like it's not like Julio is playing in a big market or anything. I no disrespect to Julio. I love Julio, but he's not. Riley Green is on the up and up, and it just feels like he is not getting that same level of perception. Now, it might just be, recency bias. It might just be that I'm looking for reasons to see this guy being undermined. And it might also just be that Julio is a younger player, than Riley. Riley is 3 years older than him. So, you might say, okay, Julio's got a lot more room to grow. All I'm saying is, or wait, is he 3 years older? Really? Yeah, I guess he is. Huh. Or wait, no, he's not. I'm sorry, I read the wrong thing. They're the same age. Ignore me. I'm just spreading misinformation all the time. But Riley Green, he really is the quiet superstar that I think Detroit sports in general seems to kind of thrive upon. Like, he's not this big personality. He's not Jazz Chisholm. He's not this electrifying, crazy, making all these big-time diving catches, although he does do the diving catches a lot. Maybe if his name was like Riley Rodriguez or something like that, right? Like a cool sounding baseball name. Riley Smacker. I don't know. That's a weird name. Riley Bling Dong. Something where it's like, oh yeah, that's a baseball name. It's like Riley Green apparently is a musical artist. Apparently there's a country singer that's Riley Green, but no E at the end. Anyway. I think people should be talking a little bit more about Riley Green. I really do. I understand that, there's only so much oxygen in general, and Aaron Judge pretty much fills most of the oxygen as far as superstar outfielders in today's game. But hey, give Riley Green some credit. He's on all of the major stat boards as far as he's right there with a lot of these superstar or established superstar players. So we'll see. Well, as the season plays out, we'll see kind of where those numbers end up for Riley, but he's continuing to impress. And I just love to see it because he's a guy that he was one of your number one prospects, and he's paying off. So another successful development of a player that really started to thrive once Scott Harris took over, but was doing decently well when Al Avila was still here. So either way, good stuff from Riley. Fun. All right. That is the show. That's all I got. So, you know what's crazy? And I can't believe this is the case. Football is happening this month. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? By the end of the month, football will have begun. I can't believe it. I'm so excited. And nervous. I'm nervous and excited. I'm excited and nervous. It's all of the above. So, all right. Well, that's going to be it for the show, though. If you did enjoy, please hit the like. Please hit the subscribe button. I do appreciate it. We'll be back next week for all the sporting news of the week, and I'm sure there will be lots of stuff to break down. With all that being said, once again, have a great rest of your night, and I will see you all next week. See ya. Goodbye. See you later.